The white gloves are off, you might say. Buckingham Palace fighting back and fighting hard as the sex abuse scandal against Prince Andrew intensifies.
And we want to show you a new photo of Prince Andrew leaving a Swiss ski resort earlier. It is the first image taken of the prince since claims surfaced he was involved in an underage sex ring.
A woman now identified as Virginia Roberts filed a lawsuit in the US last week. She claims billionaire and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein forced her into sex slavery when she was just a minor.
In the court documents, Roberts claims Epstein lent her out to powerful men, including Prince Andrew and prominent U.S. criminal defense attorney Alan Dershowitz. A short time ago, Dershowitz told CNN anchor Hala Gurani that Roberts is a liar and that these claims are absurd.
And believe me, I remember everybody I've ever had sex with. I'm not that old that I would forget. I did not have any sexual contact whatsoever under any circumstances. She made the whole thing up out of whole cloth. I can prove it by flight records. I can prove it by my travel records.
Yeah, he was rather angry at all of this, Alan Dershowitz. And it's important to note, too, the prince not charged with any crime of any description, no suggestion of it. And the palace has come to his defence repeatedly, denying the claims against him.
Yeah, they have been fierce denials. Well, the man at the centre of all of this is Jeffrey Epstein. And for more insight on who he is and his sordid past, we are joined now by Trevor Aronson via Skype. He is the executive director at the Florida Center for Investigative Reporting. So glad to have you. Let's start with the basics. Let's talk about who is Jeffrey Epstein, because all of these allegations are coming to light because of this billionaire and his alleged international sex rings.
Right. Jeffrey Epstein is among the so-called masters of the universe. You know, the group of really wealthy Wall Street financiers who have grown wealthy by managing the money of other wealthy people. You know, Epstein's clientele were mostly billionaires, and over the course of a couple of decades, he managed their money. Most of his clients are unknown and anonymous, except for a man named Les Wexner, who owns a chain of clothing stores in the United States. And, you know, Epstein wasn't someone that you'd be talking about on CNN International normally. This is a guy who kept a relatively low profile until 2008, when the Palm Beach police, Epstein owns an apartment in Manhattan as well as a mansion in Palm Beach here in Florida. The Palm Beach police were told that that he had allegedly molested an underage girl. What became an eventual FBI investigation that included the Palm Beach police found that Epstein had solicited and sex with underage girls. They had documented several girls between 14 and 16 years old. And then in addition, he pleaded guilty to a state charge of soliciting a minor for prostitution and served 13 months here in prison in Florida in 2008. What gets interesting is after his conviction, two alleged victims who were identified as Jane Doe number 1 and Jane Doe number 2 filed a federal lawsuit against the United States government under the Crime Victims' Rights Act, trying to pressure the U.S. government to prosecute Epstein for this alleged sex ring that now includes the claims of Virginia Roberts, or Jane Doe number 3, as she's identified in court records.
You know, one thing that is interesting too, and explain to me how unusual it is, if indeed it is, he negotiated this non-prosecution agreement with the Department of Justice, and to a lot of people watching, serving 13 months for underage sex, pretty dang lenient.
Absolutely. I mean, had he been prosecuted under conspiracy laws under the federal government, he would have been facing years, if not more than a decade, in prison. And that's the claim that, you know, through attorneys here in Florida, these women are making, that he did not serve enough time. He wasn't prosecuted for the full scope of his alleged crime. In fact, the Florida charge relates only to the solicitation of a single minor, and he served those 13 months. What these allegations make, the allegations that Jane Doe number 3, Virginia Roberts, and the others claim, is that it was much more than this. It was actually an international sex ring that used several underage girls, and that those girls were then given to wealthy and politically powerful people around the world for the purposes, in Epstein's case, of providing blackmail information that Epstein could then use.
So what can you tell us about Prince Andrew's relationship with Jeff Epstein? How did they meet?
You know, it's not clear in the court records how they met. Epstein is a man who traveled in influential circles. I mean, he had known Bill Clinton, he knew Donald Trump, he traveled with people who were as powerful and wealthy as he is. And, through those social circles, somehow he met Prince Andrew. What the complaint filed in Florida, the Florida court alleges, is that Jane Doe number 3 was taken to London and was loaned essentially to Prince Andrew, and that she was forced to have sex with him as part of this alleged underage ring.
Okay, Trevor Aronson, appreciate that with the Florida Center for Investigative Reporting. Again, we should reiterate that Buckingham Palace has several times denied these allegations, which is really seen as a rare move by the palace. Thank you so much, Trevor.
Thanks, Trevor.